Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at how to complete the Super versus Super Tech, so the Extreme Int stage in Super Battle Road. So we're going to take a look at how to beat it. Obviously the goal is to utilize only Extreme Int characters for this stage. And so yeah, we're going to see how well we can go. Obviously just right off the bat, in terms of extreme ints and just in terms of this stage in general, there's quite a nice mixture of free-to-play options, and one of those options is two of those options that I think are most important are the extreme int Ginyu. So the extreme int Ginyu is very good. Obviously with his EZA, he's exceptional. He has attack and defense of 170%. He raises his attack, raises his defense one turn, he seals. He also has an additional attack and defense of 100% when facing only one enemy. He reduces damage received by 50% when facing two or more enemies. And he has a whole bunch of benefits when there's other Ginyu Force units on the rotation, but there's not necessarily any that hinder him. So realistically speaking, he's just incredibly solid, and he's going to be a backbone for this team. He's really going to be a good tank for us. He's going to allow us to do a lot of damage and to just kind of carry things overall. So Ginyu is very important, and you can get him by following the Ginyu missions. He pops up once every couple of days, and also you can kind of farm all of them. They're all very solid units now, especially after their EZAs. So Ginyu is very important, very exceptional units. We then also have a couple other super important units, and one of those is going to be the Int Raditz. So Raditz, well, the reason Raditz is so good is because Raditz does do AoE damage, and AoE damage is not something that's incredibly common in the game. It's not something that's necessarily the easiest to get. So having a unit like Raditz that just can do AoE damage and is incredibly powerful is honestly very good. So Raditz is exceptional. Raditz is going to help us out a lot. He's going to do a lot of damage. So when Raditz EZAs as well, he also obviously gains a whole bunch of benefits. So he has attack and defense of 80% at the start of turn. He has attack and defense of plus 60%, and superclass enemies attack and defense of minus 10% when facing two or more enemies. So he's very good in these AoE multiple enemy kind of fights, and just does a huge amount of damage. Next to him, we're going to be running something like the First Friend Brody Kid. Also a very good unit. He raises attack and defense, which is nice, but he has a medium chance of stunning, which is great in SBR and ESBR. And he has attack and defense of plus 70%, and disables the enemy's guard. He has a medium chance of evading attacks, including super attacks, and he delivers the final blow and can recover 20% HP at the end of the turn. So Broly looks pretty good, not to mention he also shares some really important links with Raditz, Saiyan Lineage, Saiyan Warrior Race, which are all great. They do help prepared for battle as well, shattering the limit. So they share some really good links, and that helps them out overall as a pairing. Next to Ginyu, we're obviously going to run our friend lead. So as you guys know, we're running a full free-to-play team, but that doesn't mean we can't use a non-free-to-play friend. And the best free-to-play, or non-free-to-play friend I should say, is going to be Cell. So it's going to be this perfect Cell. He's just great in SBR and ESBR, still is to this day. Any of these events where he's going to potentially face multiple enemies is just going to help him a lot. Cell just does a lot of good workload. He gains ki, gains attack per every single enemy that he faces. We've got his heal if we get into really desperate situations. So just overall, yeah, Cell just makes a really good friend unit to bring in. Not to mention he's a 120% int lead, which is pretty solid. 120% extreme int lead is super duper helpful, super solid. It's going to help us out overall. It's going to just improve like how we're going to operate, like our whole team. He just makes everything run a bit better. So yeah, Cell really helps us out here, and yeah, I think it's just a super duper helpful unit. You know, he does a lot of good work. You could use Bojack as well. Bojack will also be pretty solid. Both him and Cell share the Gentleman link, so they share that with Ginyu, so they're very solid options. You can use either one, it doesn't really matter, but yeah, both are very good. And you can use either one. I think both are fine as your friend lead. It's just going to depend on, you know, what your team looks like and what kind of team you want to run. Remember, you don't have to run a full free-to-play team, but you can if you want to. That's the whole point of the video, is to just see how many stages you can complete free-to-play now in terms of Dokkan. Obviously, ideally, we'd honestly want to actually face more enemies, because more enemies make Cell stronger. But we do have a decent amount of control between the stunning of Kid Broly and the sealing of Captain Ginyu. Both are pretty good and, you know, really quite helpful and strong. So yeah, that's probably our best kind of combo just in general. And yeah, just overall makes things run pretty cool. Then the next unit, or like one of the most important pieces, is we're using the Metal Cooler. Now Metal Cooler, he comes from the Battlefield shop. So not the Battlefield shop, he comes from the Virtual Dokkan Ultimate Clash shop, and you use Battlefield memories to buy him. So he'll cost you 80,000, sorry, 150,000, which isn't too bad. You don't need to be too good to get him, but it is going to be someone that's a little bit difficult to get, just in terms of, you know, like just considering like how readily available extreme int leads are. So, but an 80% int lead is pretty good, or 70% lead is pretty good, I should say. And he's relatively solid. He raises his attack and defense depending on how much HP is remaining. He also launches multiple attacks, which is pretty good. And he raises extreme class allies attack by 30%, although that's not going to matter too much because we're not going to place him in the first slot at all. He's still a really solid unit and can do some decent damage in the floating slot, which is kind of where we're going to be using him. That's going to help us out the most. He's just going to do a lot of decent damage that way, and we're going to be able to really just kind of control things as best we can. So that's really going to help us out, and yeah, just overall going to be a very solid option. And then the final unit that we have is the Prime Battle Vegeta. So this is Prime Battle Vegeta on Global. So this Vegeta is pretty underwhelming for the most part, but he's okay. He's relatively fine. He does have LR stats, so he is going to help with our HP pool, and he should be okay defensively. He's not great by any means, but he is going to be okay, which is, you know, not too bad. Like I say, he's okay. He's not the greatest, but he will definitely not let us down. And he can be decently tanky, just considering the stats that he brings to the table. I also find that these Prime Battle LRs do really well when you're running them under lower leads, because their passives function technically, you know, on raw stats. So they function entirely based on raw stats, and that does help when you're on a lower lead, since you don't gain as much stats from the lead. So that does help. But yeah, I would definitely say he's one of the weaker units on the team, and so you could possibly replace him first. I feel like that would be your best kind of area of replacement, and that'll probably help you out the most. But yeah, we unfortunately got our Dokkan attack at a very bad time. So we got the Dokkan attack, you know, literally with a unit that has no health, and that was kind of what I was hoping to avoid, just because I didn't want to waste the Dokkan attack here, and it would have helped the final stage go a lot faster. But sometimes you can't really avoid these things, and so it's not really something you need to be too concerned about. But if you can, try and save your Dokkan attack at least for the beginning of stages. doing it at the beginning of stages will really help out, and just does better overall. Like, it'll just do better for you. So yeah, obviously we're now into the final battle here. Just remember that, you know, SBR, ESBR, especially, so not the category ones, but the type ones. So whether you're facing Super Int, Super Tech, whatever the situation is, just remember that those essentially change constantly. The first 10 SBR and the first 10 ESBR. So they're constantly changing, they're constantly, you know, are getting, how do I say it, like, the lineup you face will be randomized. They'll be chosen at random. Sometimes you'll face, for example, the full Bardock team. Other times you'll face the full, you know, Freezer Force. In Super Ones you'll face full Team Bojack, etc. So yeah, it is a little bit randomized. So what I'm facing here may not necessarily be, you know, what you want to face, for example, but I mean, yeah, it's a good indication of how well the team does overall, and so it should give you a good idea as to how well they do, and hopefully that will allow you, you know, to have a nice idea of how to take on the stage, give you ideas of what units you can use to fill out your team, or just how strong SBR is. Nowadays, SBR is really not as challenging as it used to be. The later ones are, like the newer stages, but some of the older stages are really quite easy. And as we complete more and more of them free to play, hopefully it will show you guys exactly what you can do, how you can complete the stages, what units you can use instead. And I mean, realistically, especially with friend leads now, like there's some friend leads that can just solo the whole stage. Like, you can use certain units to just completely control the entire stage, do big damage. It's just really impressive how much like these units can do damage and how much they can carry the stage, etc. So yeah, I would say, you know, don't be alarmed. Just try out everything, and that should maybe like help you out, and you should be able to have a good time. So if you're concerned about SBR, give this video a watch, and then hopefully you can take on SBR next, and you can really, you know, kind of like give it a good go. I think you'll quite appreciate that, and I think it'll be good for you guys to really try it out. Like, it'll work well, and you'll have a good idea on how to take it on, and then from there you can kind of decide, you know, what units you want to replace, what units you don't want to replace, and things like that. I think like that's a good place to begin, and I would say start there with just what units do you have out of the ones I've given you or the ones I've used, and then start there and start replacing and rebuilding the team, you know, as best as you can. I think that'll be pretty good for the most part. So yeah, I would suggest that, and other than that, yeah, I think that's everything you guys kind of need to know. Obviously, just remember to use items as best you can. If you're struggling with items, I do have a couple pretty comprehensive guides on when to use items or how to use items and things like that. So don't be scared to watch those videos. I do have videos on support items, and if you need further assistance, you can take a look at those, and hopefully those will help you and be good. So yeah, I think that would be cool, and I think that'll help you out. But obviously, if not, you can, you know, just kind of do whatever. You can make whatever changes you want, whatever, you know, kind of gets you to be more than fine, I think is okay. So just give it your best and you'll be able to win, and you shouldn't have any problems. The Int one honestly was probably the one where I had the most choice and the best options, or I felt quite comfortable in all of the options, you know, that we had. Even Ginyu, like before his easy A, is still more than fine and it's still really quite tanky. So yeah, like the whole thing is really quite like straightforward and easy. I would honestly suggest taking it on even without some of these units easy aid and that. Like, it is just going to be more than fine. But yeah, that's going to be it from me, guys. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, remember to give the video a like. And I will see you guys in the next one. But until then, bye.